Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new Ask Me Anything session for our global challenge. So this year is the 10th edition of the challenge. So a big year and a big anniversary for the competition. The idea of today is really to cover the key information about the challenge, such as the timeline, evaluation criteria, and also all the value that it can bring to you. And how it can help you and your startup. I would like to introduce you to Pepej Mendy, our new global challenge and startup manager at Hello Tomorrow, who will be leading this session, as he will be replacing me because I'm leaving Hello Tomorrow at the end of the week. So he will present you the global challenge and answer any questions that you have during the session. Today we have a special guest, Pedro Correa de Sampaio. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. Co-founder and CEO at Neobe Therapeutics, who was one of our finalists last year in the medical biotech and pharmaceutical track. So Pedro will be also able to answer any questions and give you some advice, as he was in your shoes a couple of months ago. So we'll start with the presentation of the challenge first, and then I will let Pedro share his experience, and then we'll open up with the question and answer session. If you have any questions, you don't have to wait until the end of the session to ask any question. You have a little chat box on the right side of your screen where you can put any questions. Feel free to say hi and to say where you're connecting from. There are potentially a lot of people connecting from different countries here, so we're always happy to know who you are and where you're from. You also have a question tab where you can also put some questions, and then people can vote for if they want to ask the same question as well, so that we can start with a question that needs to be answered beforehand. So I will let Pepej start the presentation, and I hope you enjoy this session.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you for the nice introduction. I really do have big shoes to fill, so thank you, Alex, to be here with us. First of all, I'm really happy to be here with you and for this Ask Me Anything session for Global Challenge. My name is Pepej. I'm the Global Challenge and Startup Network Manager here at Hello Tomorrow, and I'll be your host today. So welcome and thanks for joining us for this session dedicated to our 10th edition of the Global Challenge. So as you probably know, our goal at Hello Tomorrow has always been to support deep tech startup, but not any deep tech startup, mostly early stage ones, and the ones that are developing pioneer solutions to address humanity's toughest challenges. That's why for the past 10 years, since 2014, we've run the Global Challenge to give connection, visibility, and funding to the most promising deep tech startup of the world. So let's dive right in and answer our three main questions, our three big W's. Who can apply, when, and why should they apply? So as for who can apply, so if you are a startup working on deep tech, you are one of the startups that we are looking for as a potential candidate. There are like three main criteria for your application. The first one is obviously innovation. Whether you are working on a product or a service, your innovation must be based on new technology or scientific discovery or a complex engineering process. And as you can see, we cover all of the industries and technology. That means that you can be working on aerospace, on energy or industry. All of the industry and all of the topics are relevant to us. So it's really open to anybody working in deep tech. So on this slide, you can see that there are 10 different tracks that we have this year. If you participated last year, you can see that it is the same as the one that we had for the 9th edition. So that means that it's working to us and it was really relevant to you, deep tech startup. On the second criteria, we have the early stage startup. It means that for us, startups who are not yet incorporated or startups who have raised maximum Series A on their funding round. So if you are just starting to look for your first client or investor, you are a great fit to us. So as Alex told you, this is a 10th edition for us. So 10th edition means also special improvements. That's one of the reasons why that this year we've added a new cross-track prize to support pre-VC stage startups. It means that 7 startups from all across tracks or industry would be able to compete and have the opportunity to win up to 25K equity-free money. So if you're one of the startups who's having some doubts about your development, about your technology, and more of all, your place in this competition, trust me, at Hello Tomorrow, there is a place for you. And last but not least, as impact matters really a lot to us, your solution should be addressing an important challenge that we are facing today. And what I'm saying it's we as humanity, whether it is the environment or a challenge for our society or a specific industry. If you think that you can make an impact that matters, come and apply to the Hello Tomorrow Global Challenge. So now you know if you can apply. The next step is knowing when you can apply. As you know, and if you're here, you know that the applications are currently open and that the deadline is for the 22nd of September. But this year we've changed a bit the format, also due to the 10th anniversary. So there is a 2-step application. The first one is a shorter and faster application. It means that if you submit your application by the 31st of July, by the end of this month, you will receive useful feedback directly from our jury, and you will be able to improve your application for the actual deadline of the 22nd of September. So once the application closes, we will review all the application and contact the selected deep tech pioneer startup by the end of October. Some of you might wonder what it means to be a deep tech pioneer. So those deep tech pioneers are the startups that have fulfilled all the criteria and that has been considered by our jury as among the best one in their category. If you want to have a glimpse or an idea of how many startups that means, last year we had around 700 startups as deep tech pioneer, but there are no fixed numbers. So as long as you are a special startup and a startup in which we believe there is a good potential, you could be one of our deep tech pioneer startups. So, and if you are selected as our DTP, this means that you get an exclusive access to our event and also join our huge community of DTP. And you also have access to other perks available all year round, and we'll share more about that later. So back to the month of November, all those deep tech startups will have the ability to update and complete their application to get selected as finalists on the global challenge. There will be more or less around 80 finalists, so that means around 7 finalists per tracks. And I showed you earlier that 7 finalists for the Emerging Pioneer Prize, all evaluated by experts and investors from our fields. The finalists will be announced in mid-January. So these 80 selected finalists will be invited to pitch during the finals of the Global Challenge, which happens during the Global Summit located here in France, in Paris, between March 14th and March 15th. And of course, the day before, we will be hosting the Investor Day. Again, Deep Tech Pioneer get access to both of those events. So if you have to recap something, apply before the 31st of July to get useful feedback, and then update your application until the 22nd of September. And if you are selected among your DPT, you will have to re-update your application for our jury to evaluate. And then by January, if you are selecting among our finalists, and that's the best I wish to you, we will get to meet in person in Paris for the Investor Day and for the Global Summit and the Global Challenge in Paris. So if you are wondering why you should apply, our aim at Hello Tomorrow is really to get at the heart of the need of the early stage startup. And from what we know and from our experience, we know that that deep tech startups are looking for connection, visibility, and funding. So one of the main things we can offer here at Hello Tomorrow are connection among our really relevant network. In this network, our network is really huge and vast. It goes from investor to corporate company to fellow deep tech startups. You will have the chance to make valuable connection with this actor during the Global Summit, as well as all year long, because there are so many opportunities to get connected to corporates and to investors. And why is it interesting for you? Because it can definitely lead to business and funding opportunities. Or on another hand, it can also help you to find your last key member in your team, like one of our previous participants who finds their CEO during the summit. So that's really one of the reasons why you should get there. So if you are selected a winner, we award you in a kind prize consisting on one personalized one-to-one coaching plus personal introduction with potential investor, potential partners, or potential clients. And if you take a look at this slide, you can also definitely see one of the possible partner that we have and the connection that we could offer you here at Hello Tomorrow through our global challenge. As for visibility, we also offer startup global visibility. First of all, you will receive the Deep Tech Pioneer label, which is basically a recognition from Hello Tomorrow and a recognition by us as you being one of the top startups in your industry on an international scale. So really worth doing. Then during the Global Summit, selected finalists get to pitch on stage in front of our audience in Paris. So it will be around 400 people at the same time. So Deep Tech Pioneer Startup will also have the chance to demo your solution in a dedicated exhibition area. So really interesting. As for the financial perks, which we know matters also a lot to startup, we are offering 3 prizes this year. The first prize will be 100k euros. It's our run prize, and for the best of the best startup, if I can say. We have a second prize that is 25k for the second top startup. And as I told you in the beginning, 25k for the emerging startup prize. But even if you don't win, you'll still have access to our funding opportunities if you are a Deep Tech Pioneer startup. But also you will have the opportunity to get a place during our Investor Day the day before, and you'll be able to advertise your open funding fundraising at any time of the year to our international investor network. So now you know why you should apply, when you should apply, and how you will apply. So I think it will be interesting for you to go through the selection criteria. So how do you prepare a winning application to the Global Challenge from Hello Tomorrow? First of all, it's really important to mention that your startup will be evaluated strictly on what you submit in the application. So it's really, really, really important for you to make sure that it is completed and submitted. We only accept the application that are on the platform. So you should already include necessary detail and all the necessary details in the application form. For the finalist selection, we will ask the selected startup to review and complete their application. with the most updated information. This will help you to get a better chance of being selected, so don't neglect this step. So, and when selecting deep tech pioneer startup and finalists, we do so on the basis of 4 main criteria that you can see on the screen. First, we look at the technological innovation. Once again, since this is a deep tech competition, we are looking for innovation and in technology and not only business evolution. To demonstrate this, you, of course, need to provide a complete description of your technology, but the description alone is not enough. We'll also need you to deliver some kind of external proof of how novel and realistic your technology could be. And its proof could be, for instance, a patent or publication or KPIs, among other things. The second criteria is, as I told you, impact really matters to us at Hello Tomorrow. So it's important for you to stress that we are looking, it's important to stress that we are looking to see what your technology aims to have a positive impact on the society or on your industry or on the planet. So we are not necessarily looking for impact at a global level, but the impact should definitely be large scale. Third, we evaluate startups' economic viability. Here we need to see that you are targeting a market which is sufficiently large, that you are relevant and convincing, that you have a relevant and convincing business model, and that you also have a clear competitive advantage. Obviously, the content you provide here vary according to your maturity. As I told you, we are also accepting very early stage and emerging deep tech pioneer startup. But even for you, early stage startup who are really commercializing, we do need to see that you have through the business aspect, that you know the market that you would like to target and how you like to address this market. Lastly, we also look at the makeup of the team. So first of all, there is need to be minimum of 2 people in the team to be eligible. Then on your application, we ask you for some information about your founder and other key members. The goal here is to demonstrate that your team or your current network have relevant experience and complementary expertise. So those are the most important criteria that you have to keep in mind when completing your application. Of course, make sure that you address each and every one of those criteria. It will give you the best chance of being selected for this competition. So here it is for the main information that you will need to have for the global challenge. So if you have any question, we'll be more than happy to answer it. And if you don't, I think it's time for us to let Pedro introduce himself and introduce his company, Neobe Therapeutics.
Thank you very much. That was great to see all of that information again. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm a big fan of Hello Tomorrow and the Global Challenge. I've been a very active, I think, participant in the last couple of years. Worked with Alexandra a lot through our process of getting through to becoming one of the finalists at the Global Challenge, the 9th Global Challenge earlier this year, which was really, really great. So it is a pleasure to be here. To start with just a little bit about me, I was a cancer researcher originally. I started my career doing a PhD first and then a postdoc studying cancer biology, and particularly how cancer patients respond to therapies and how the different content of their tumors affects the way that cancer patients respond to therapies. Are you able to, can you hear me? Because it looks like I'm freezing a little bit. Okay, good. It's just my computer. I started my career basically doing that, but because I was kind of very active researching this, I got to a point towards the end of my academic career where I wanted to be involved in something a little bit more impactful. I felt that obviously research was great and I really enjoyed it, but I wanted to do something that actually had a real life impact in the lives of cancer patients. That's why I got into oncology research to get started. So after a postdoc that I did in the US for a few years at MD Anderson in Houston, I got back to the UK where I had originally done my PhD to work with a startup studio called Deep Science Ventures here that were interested in helping scientists develop new venture ideas, especially within um, oncology and the tumor microenvironment space. Throughout that process, we ended up spinning out Neobe. So Neobe, people can get a little bit confused by the name, but if you think neo microbe, neo, that's where the name comes from. And that's exactly because what we're doing is building new microbes or engineering new bacteria to enable therapeutic efficacy in cancer patients. I thought about bringing some of the slides that I used for my global challenge presentation, but then I thought it was probably more efficient to actually answer everyone's questions about the application process, and everyone's a lot more interested in that exactly what it is that we're doing at Neobe. But just to give a very, very quick snapshot, we started the company in 2021. As I mentioned, we weren't an academic spinout. We started off of Deep Science Ventures, and which means that basically we started from scratch, and we were building this synthetic biology platform to engineer bacterial products that go into the tumors of cancer patients and kind of break down their solid barriers to therapeutic infiltration in these tumors. So basically, if you see a tumor as a castle, which was a metaphor that I used in my presentation as well, these bacteria go into the tumor and break down the walls of the castle so that you can then get therapeutics into these tumors more effective, and you can get cancer patients that don't respond to existing drugs to start responding to existing drugs. So we built the platform in 2021. 2022, we got a little bit of initial investment, both in grants and in convertible notes. And that was the first time that I participated in the Hello Tomorrow Global Challenge, and we got accepted as the tech pioneers. And then we came back and applied again when we were a little bit more developed last year. And we then got selected to be finalists at really a great timing for us, because it was just as we were raising our seed round, which we closed at the end of last year, a £2 million seed round that we're now using to really build the company, grow the company, and get us to the stage where we've got the two products that we have in our pipeline into clinical development as soon as we can. And throughout the process of doing Hello Tomorrow 2 years, initially as a deep tech pioneer and then as a finalist, we learned a lot about how to position ourselves in this space, but we also made some really incredible connections, both with investors, potential collaborators, and really just the general deep tech community. So yes, it's been a pleasure, and I'm happy to talk to you about my experience.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Maybe can you explain or share how the Global Summit? Well, if you made any connections during the summit, what was your experience the first time, and compared to the second time, what's changed, maybe?
I mean, the main thing that changed was, or the two main things that changed was, first, the second time around, we kind of knew what we were doing, right? The first time around, we were still kind of exploring the space and exploring the app and how everything worked. But I think the thing that struck me the most in both times, but especially the first, was that everyone who's there is there because they are actually interested in meeting people and meeting deep tech pioneers, and in making connections, either as an investor, as a collaborator, as a potential employee. So everyone is really actually active in the app and all of the networking sessions. So the first time that we did, and I say we because my co-founder Annalise came with me the first time, we were really kind of impressed because we were just launching our first round. We barely had any data. We'd only been working on the company for about a year and a half. And we had all of these investors really interested in talking to us, which was really exciting. It felt, it was one of the conferences that I went to where it felt like we had the most traction at a really, really early stage, and that people genuinely were interested in finding projects that they could support. Um, so that was my experience on the first year. The second year, because we had just closed our round, I was a lot less active in actually kind of trying to pursue these meetings with investors. But what happened was that because I had the opportunity to present on the main stage, even though before coming to the conference, I didn't necessarily plan to have a lot of these meetings. After I presented, I ended up having a lot of people wanting to talk to me, which was great. And some of these are genuinely investors that I'm still in conversations with about potentially our next round, which we'll be raising later this year. Potential, students that may potentially come to do either an internship or to actually work with us at some point, and even other members of the community that may turn into the collaborators, but particularly in the pharmaceutical space. So yeah, it's been really productive.
Okay, great. And so it means that during your first time at the Global Summit, did you meet investors that invested in your startup afterwards? How did you meet them? Were you at the investor day, or were you using only the app? Maybe it can give a little bit of context and help to the people who are here today.
Yeah, so I did both on my first year. I did the investor day and I did the summit. And the investor day was good, but I feel like I maybe wasn't quite as prepared as I should have been. I think what the best bit of advice to give to people at that point is like actually spend the time to look into the list of the investors that are there and the ones that are actually relevant to you, and actually reach out to them first, either through the app or even potentially outside of it. I think the app is really good in just like showing you who's there, but then it's like everything else, right? It depends on who's actually using them and who isn't. It's a great way to like manage your schedule, but it's always good to kind of reach out to potential investors beforehand, because they may not be looking at the app until like the day of or the day before the event, and then suddenly they're like flooded with messages of people that want to meet you. But if you've already kind of given them a hint, hey, I'm going to be there and it'd be great to talk because X, Y, and Z, then they may look at your message over the others, right? And make sure that they make time to meet you, which is something that really worked out for me a couple of times. I did meet a lot of investors, especially on my first time, because as I said, I was a lot more active in looking for them. They ended up not investing at that round because we just ended up going with someone else. But some of them are investors that, as I said, we are still talking to for the next round. So it did lead to active kind of investor conversations that then actually became, sort of ongoing relationships, and a lot of them are, still interested in joining in.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. I have another question, maybe more related to the application itself. If you have any recommendation on how you managed to fill in the application, maybe if you did something different the second time compared to the first time, that also potentially you mentioned that of course it was the right timing for you, and being selected as finalist also meant because you had more traction and you were developed a little bit more. But do you have any advice for startups who are doing the application for the first time?
I think the two main bits of advice that I have are, one, I think it's really great that you guys are doing this kind of 1st July deadline, because I think it's great for two reasons. Because one, it's actually going to make people work on their applications earlier, and two, it's great to actually be able to have feedback and work on them, because you don't necessarily always know what the judges are looking for. But beyond that, the two main things that I would say is do it early. don't let it go to the deadline. I was right on the deadline on the first time that I applied, and I think that is part of the reason why we ended up not being finalists. Also, I mean, we were also a lot less developed, and the technology was still kind of being demonstrated. Whereas on the second year, we actually had, you know, a much more developed company and much more developed data to show that we could do what we can do. But also the second year, I worked on my application with a lot more time in advance. I had time to review it, and I had time to actually look at the criteria and make sure that I was responding all of them, which is something that, I mean, it's very easy to just go like, okay, here's a question, I'm going to answer the question. But no, actually go look at what it is that the judges want to see and almost make like bullet points of um, how you match each of those criteria, and then you can turn that into a paragraph. And I think that also helped.
I think, yeah, you can go ahead, Page.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks a lot, Pedro. Just to add something regarding the criteria and regarding the application process, on the website of Hello Tomorrow, you have a big FAQ, so don't hesitate to go through this because you will learn even more things regarding the application process. And worst case scenario, you can always send us a message if you have any doubt on the application process or on your application. We'll be more than happy to answer it.
Thank you, Pupej. I don't know if any of the people who are here have any questions. Don't hesitate to ask them on the chat or on the question box. Otherwise, I still have a few more questions for you, Pedro. So I don't know if you had the chance to exhibit at all during the summit. So we have an space where we had around 50 to 70 deep tech pioneers able to exhibit their technology. So that's a great way to get visibility during the Global Summit. But for you, Pedro, what was a typical agenda of the summit? How did you organize your time there? What did you do exactly? So that we can understand a little bit more how you took advantage of the events.
Yeah, no, we didn't exhibit because we kind of felt that kind of our product is not the most sort of exciting to exhibit. If I went back, I may change that because I think there is actually quite a lot to be said for just having a physical space that people walk past and you know, come and have a chat with you, because I did see a lot of that happen. And even I myself kind of went to the exhibition area to see what some of the other companies were working on as well, right? So I probably would, if I went back, I would probably change that. Beyond that, I use the app a lot in just managing my time. I think that's the thing that the app is the best for, is to actually give you a really good understanding of the schedule, and be able to like coordinate the meetings that you're having with some of the things that you may want to go see, because there's a lot of panels and presentations that are also, you know, really interesting and that I really wanted to be a part of as well. So it was kind of like a combination of going to some of the panels, organizing as many meetings as I could and go to all of these meetings, and then make sure I left some kind of empty time to just be able to go and, you know, bump into people and chat. Because also, you know, one of the things that I enjoy about Hello Tomorrow and the Global Summit is that there is a bit of a sense of community there, which I really enjoy. And once you start coming in a couple of times, then there's, you know, there's a whole bunch of people there that you've met and that you want to see again, that you may not necessarily want to like schedule a meeting with, but you still want to make sure that you have time to bump into them and have a coffee, right? So it's kind of, you know, really trying to manage your time the best possible way for me to try and get these things together. And then obviously on the last year, combine that with the presentation as well, and the pitch on the stage.
Thank you, Pedro. Just to add some details, we are talking a lot about the app, but for those of you who don't know, during the Global Summit, we've delivered an application on mobile to everyone within the summit. So it helps you to set up meetings with investors or with corporate or also with startups. So really useful app during the meeting. It's basically your organizer helper during the summit. So really useful. And if you go to the summit, you will be able to see it. Just one question for you, Pedro. If you're thinking, you told us a lot about about the global summit and about the global challenge, but did you find it kind of useful to be part of the deep tech pioneer community all year long? Were there any resources that have been really useful to you or to your business? I don't know, introducing you to a corporate or investor or fellow deep tech startup?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really been talking to a lot of corporates yet, but I did use the tools that Hello Tomorrow has to connect with investors. We shared our fundraising round when we were raising through the Hello Tomorrow newsletter. We actually got some introductions out of that, which was really great. And every once in a while, when we have, when we actually raised a round and we announced that, we kind of put the news out there into the Hello Tomorrow community as well, and we got some traction out of that. So yeah, it does definitely help to give some visibility and to make some introductions throughout the year as well. I think the Global Summit is great because it enables you to do that in a very concentrated way during those 2 days, and you can prepare for that. But it is something that is still available throughout the rest of the year.
Thank you, Pedro, for sharing that. It's true that it's important to keep in mind. As deep tech pioneers, you get access to our network and our ecosystem all year long, and we share with you as many relevant information, event, and program as possible, so that you get also insights from us. Just to also answer orally a question from Sarah, who asked if the application is not selected this year, if she can reapply next year. Of course, you're allowed to reapply if you're not selected as Deep Tech Pioneer. Feel free also to ask us for some feedback. We'll be happy to help you with your application for the next edition, and same as Pedro, for example, if you applied and you were selected as Deep Tech Pioneer the first year, but maybe not as finalist, you can reapply the year before, the year after, sorry, to get even more chance to be selected as finalist. Being finalist is an additional additional perks, as you get to pitch in front of an audience of 400 people. And I will maybe ask you the question right after, Pedro, of how you experience this moment. But yeah, being finalist gives you also additional visibility on our social media. We communicate a lot about them, and also we have partners that sponsor our challenge and that are always interested in getting in touch with the finalists, especially as they help us in the evaluation process and in the selection process. So now I redirect the question to you, Pedro. How did you feel during that moment when you had to pitch in front of an audience and of a jury, and only 3 minutes? So it's quite challenging, I guess. What was your experience about this?
It was quite an exciting experience, actually. It was not really like anything I'd done before, because you guys, honestly, the production values of that stage are just incredible, and the amount of people that are in the background to make sure that everything kind of runs exactly on time is really quite, something to experience. So it is 100% worth going through the experience. I've never really done anything like that before. And because it is worth going through the experience, it's also worth preparing yourself for it properly. Because when they say you've got 3 minutes, you've got 3 minutes. And at the end of the 3 minutes, you will be cut off. And it's not, it's not a soft cut off. You'll definitely be cut off. So, I thankfully definitely recommend rehearsing a lot to make sure that you are on time, which I thankfully was. And just having the opportunity to present in person and to present to the judge and get that kind of visibility is really great. The other thing that I would say that I also think is really important is if you're picked as a finalist, you are matched with someone with someone that, like a mentor, that can help you prepare for it. And I had a really fantastic experience with mine. So I'd say definitely follow through with that and work with them, because it made my pitch a lot better. And that's something that I could then sort of use for my own kind of, pitching experience outside of Hello Tomorrow. And that also kind of helps you make sure that you modulate your message in a way that resonates. And being able to do that in a stage with that many people means that you do get some traction out of that. And you do have some, corporates and investors that come and talk to you afterwards saying, hey, let's have a chat. So it is worth doing it. And finally, also, enjoy it, because it is really fun.
Yes, thank you. Indeed, I think preparation is key. And for many of the startups that are pitching on the Hello Tomorrow stage, for a lot of them, it's the first time they do this exercise. So of course we try to support you and to prepare you as much as possible on our side. But we are always, we are based in Paris, and a lot of you are based worldwide. So sometimes it's a little bit challenging, but we try to support you as much as possible in this exercise. And I guess it's very useful for later on and for your next experience.
Yeah, and also, because of all of that, make sure, if you do get selected as a finalist and you do present on the day, make sure that you actually get there at the time that they ask you to get there, because you do need that time in advance to make sure that you're kind of familiar with how the process is going to run, because there are a lot of things to check before you can come on stage.
Yes, it's very important so that you don't miss out on your speaking time, and also for you to not to be stressed when you start the session. We're trying to organize it in a way that it's as smooth as possible for you. So indeed, when we recommend some time arrival, it's nice for you to be there and to be able to also chat with the other finalists and the other one that will be in your shoes as well, and to share the experience with other participants.
I actually became quite friends with a couple of my fellow finalists. It was a nice experience that you're all sharing.
I'm glad to hear that.
We have a question from someone in Nairobi regarding the application process. So I think it's really important and relevant to answer it for everyone. So the person is asking, will the I will be applying in August deadline. Please try to consider, will the application matter? Yes, of course, the application will still matter, because the application process will stop by the 22nd of September. So if you apply between August and September, it will still be relevant, but you won't be able to receive an early feedback from our jury. So this will be the main difference. You will only have one chance to apply compared to the people who will apply before the 31st of July. We will apply a first time, and then we'll be able to improve their application.
Yes, and if I may stress out, it's a competition. So of course, deadline matters. We after the competition close, we won't accept any other application for the 10th edition of the challenge. We have application that is open all year long for the Deep Tech Pioneer community. And if you apply outside of the challenge, we can review your application for the Deep Tech Pioneer community, but you won't be able to compete for the finalist selection and for being able to pitch on stage, for example. We also have a question from Sarah, regarding the number of people in your team. We require a minimum of 2 members within the team. It doesn't have to be a second co-founder. It can be another person working within the startup who joined later on. It's not a problem as long as you are 2 people working for your startup. And we'll also have a question from Megan. How much POC data should company have, and what stage should the company be at? So there is no minimum stage. We at Hello Tomorrow, we really try to support early stage startup. So it really goes from not yet incorporated startup up to Series A funding round. So same for the tier level. Of course, you have better chance of going further in the competition if you already have a proof of concept. Compared to just an idea. If you are way too early, we will, of course, send you feedback telling you that we encourage you to reapply once you're a little bit more mature. But we accept early stage startup as much as possible, and we try to give you the visibility and the platform here at Hello Tomorrow. So I hope that answered all of your questions. I don't know if there is any other questions. Pedro, maybe you want to add something?
No, I made some notes in advance, but we've kind of covered everything. I think, just what the amount of people that you meet in this conference, the amount of actual fruitful interactions that you have. It's not just people wanting to talk to you for the sake of talking to you because they're trying to sell something. No, there's a lot of both investors, collaborators, corporates, other startups who are there because they're genuinely interested in the tech and they really want to support and be a part of it. So it's worth doing it. It's worth putting the time into your application and doing it with time to make sure that you can have the best possible one. If you get accepted to come, make the most of the app, but use also alternative forms of communication like LinkedIn and email or whatever to reach out to the people that you really want to meet, because they will be getting a lot of inbound. And if you do get selected as a finalist, make sure that you prepare properly. Make sure that you make the most of the support that you get and just enjoy it.
Perfect. Thank you, Pedro.
Thank you.
So thanks a lot, Pedro, and thanks a lot, everyone. I really hope that this session of Ask Me Anything has been really useful to you. I can't stress to say, but if you have any question here at Hello Tomorrow, we'll be more than happy to answer it, and we are always available to answer your questions. So if you wish to get some feedback, don't forget to submit by the end of the month of July. So it's mostly and only 2 weeks to apply if you want to receive feedbacks. But if you think you don't need feedbacks, it's always fine, and you can still apply between August and September. So if you want to also have news from Hello Tomorrow or news from the Global Challenge, feel free to subscribe to our newsletter, The Core. And if you have any other questions, we'll be more than happy to stay in touch with you. So thank you, Pedro, for being here with us during this session. And thank you as well to you, Alexandra. And I'll be more than happy to see you guys on another Ask Me Anything session.
Thank you very much to you both for
Have a nice
inviting me.
day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.